We are live now. A very warm welcome to all the eminent panelists and participants, speakers of today. This is the National Workshop on Empowerment of Youth 2021, NWEY 2021, organized by the Vivekananda Janoththana Trust. We are a small group of professionals who are working actively to reach the message of Swami Vivekananda to the youth in our country and the world across the world. We have had a week-long program on the main topic of inspired learning for positive growth and excellence in Indian youth. We had the privilege of having this program inaugurated with the benedictory address by Srimad Swami Satyashanji Maharaj, who is the Assistant General Secretary and Trustee of the Ramakrishna Martin Mission. So, may I now welcome all the eminent speakers we have with us here. Pujya Swami Vedanishtananda ji, who is an Acharya with the training center at the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission Center in Belur Mutt, the training center in Belur Mutt. We have Professor M.A. Alvar, who is the professor at the Maharaja Sanskrit College in Mysore. He's a very accomplished person and he runs the Samskriti Foundation. We have Sri Kamakoti, who's the founder of the Vedashrama at Chengalpattu in Kanchipuram. And with that, we will be working on the main topic of the day, which is Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning. I repeat, a very interesting topic. Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning, something which is very, very relevant to each one of us. Before I proceed forth, I have a small prayer which we would like to invoke Almighty for the blessing.
ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणाम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु वाग्देव्यै नमः ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुम् पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
A very warm welcome to all our eminent speakers for today. On that very auspicious note, I'd like to say today's theme is Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning. We have Srimad Swami Vedanishtananda ji Maharaj, who's the Acharya at the Probationary Training Center in Belur Mutt, and he is going to talk to us on the topic of Gurukulam heartbeats, inspiring executors and ever-hungry supplicants. So I would like to essentially give an introduction to Puja Swamiji. Swamiji is the monk of the Ramakrishna order. He did his graduation in science from the Calcutta University and joined the monastic life at Belur Mutt in 2000. His Matadiksha Guru is Srimad Swami Ranganathanji Maharaj, very famous. Swamiji was inspired a lot of youngsters across the world. Apart from that, Swamiji became a sannyasa, took on the sannyasa vows in 2010. He served in the value education department of Sri Ramakrishna Ashrama at Rajkot in Gujarat, and also as the principal of Ramakrishna Mission Educational Institution in Fiji. It is in the Pacific Ocean, for those who may know where Fiji is. Presently, he is serving as the Acharya at the Brahmacharans Training Center at Belur Math. Puja Swamiji, a very warm welcome to you, and may now request you to enlighten us on the Gurukulam heartbeats, inspiring exemplars, and the ever hungry supplicants. Puja Swamiji.
ॐ सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. My pranams to Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ma Sarada Devi, Swami Vivekananda, and Ma Saraswati. I also express my namaskars to Dr. T.S. Mohanji, Shri Kamakoti ji, and Professor Alwar. And my namaskars to everyone who is today a part of this program organized by Vivekananda Janoththana Trust. It is a national workshop on empowerment of youth, and the main topic is inspired learning for positive growth and excellence in Indian youth. So this national workshop is mainly targeted to the youth of India. Today's topic is Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning. The Gurukula tradition, if we just think about it in a simple way, is about learning. It is about culture, it is about spirituality. But the workshop that we are having is actually for the youth of our nation. Swami Vivekananda says that religion is the core, it is the heart, it is the lifeblood, it is the backbone of our nation. So, Gurukula tradition, which seems to be a bit more concentrated in the sphere of learning, in the sphere of spiritual culture, also has a very strong national relevance now. And so, this topic, I feel, is very much connected to the youth of India. My topic is Gurukulam heartbeats, inspiring exemplars, and the ever hungry supplicants. I would share certain of my thoughts, a few of my thoughts that I have gathered with my humble experience in serving as a Ramakrishna order for the last 21 years, and especially being in the main Gurukula of the Ramakrishna order itself. We call it the Probationers Training Center. It is at Belur Math. And all our brahmacharis, the probationers, the novices, who, inspired by the life and teachings of the holy trio, Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sarada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda, they come forward and they take up this great vow of sannyasa. This place, the training center, is actually a place to train them to slowly prepare themselves for that vow. Being a sannyasi, I don't have much experience of the world outside, but so most of the thing that I'll share with the listeners is connected to my experience of being in this spiritual tradition. Let me begin. Gurukula is a very old, very ancient, traditional concept. In one of our Upanishads, the Taittiriya Upanishads, we find there is a Sikshavali and there is an address, the convocation address, where the Guru, he is giving various instructions to the students who have graduated. And there we find that the Guru has actually prepared the student not for only his life, but also has trained him in a way through which he can connect himself and contribute to the society, the nation, the world at large. I'd like to discuss this topic by dividing it into 4 parts in the very beginning. We call it the Anubandha Chatushtaya. Whenever a topic is discussed, it is divided into the Anubandha Chatushtaya. What the Vishaya is, what the topic is about, who the Adhikari are, who are the ones who can be a part of this topic or to whom this topic can be targeted to. The third is the prayojan. What is the need of the discussion of this topic? And the fourth is the sambandha. What is the connection of the Vishaya, the Adhikari, and the prayojana of the topic, the Vishaya for the Adhikari? So the Vishaya is Gurukula itself. And we see the Gurukula is mainly a seat of learning, Siksha, Vidya. I was just going through the Wikipedia trying to find out what at presently people read or talk about Gurukula, and I found that there is a term called e-Gurukula also. It was quite amusing for me because a e-Gurukula, I found it to be a bit of a strange concept because Gurukula means that the Shishya lives with the Guru Shakasha. He lives with the Guru, sees the life of the Guru sees the Shishya, and it is a slow, a steady, but a strong training by the Guru for the Shishya. The Guru teaches to the Shishya, gives knowledge, we call it Vidya. But in our context of the cultural and spiritual heritage of India, we find Vidya has also been defined in a very specific way. It has been divided into two categories, the Aparavidya and the Paravidya. And we know Vidya has been defined as Sa Vidyaya Vimuktaye. The secular knowledge have their own place, but human life, we don't have to read the scriptures. If we just deliberate in a deep way, you'll find that human life has a deeper purpose. And only when we can know about the deeper purpose, practice it, and then manifest it in our life, only then we will find the fulfillment of whatever we do. So, whatever a person learns in a Gurukula, if it does not connect him with this higher purpose of life, then maybe the Gurukula does not serve its purpose. And that is the reason often many of us who are a part of the education system prevailing in our country, we have our own despair. And we talk, we think that why the education system is not bringing the fulfillment to the students of India. I go to the next part of the topic, Adhikari. A Gurukula is a dichotomous system. The Guru is there and the Shishya is also there. So our Shastras, our scriptures, they have also told about the characteristics or the eligibility of the Guru. In short, there are three eligibility of the Guru. The first is that he should be Shrotriya. He should know the Shastras. Because he will teach something, so he should be an adept of the Shastras. The next is that he should be Avrijinaha. He should have a stainless pure life because previously what the Guru used to teach was a spiritual life. And spiritual life has a tremendous connection, strong connection with Naitikata, morality. So the Guru had to have a very pure, stainless life. And the third characteristic, the third adhikaritva of the Guru is that he should be a Kamata. In our country, Vidya is considered to be a very sacred thing. We worship Vidya as a Devi, and that is the reason the Guru should give only for the purpose of giving. Knowledge is a very sacred thing. Nowadays, often we see education has become like an industry, but that was not the tradition in our country. I'd like to come to the third part of the Anubandha Chatushtaya. And that is, I have not told about the Adhikaritva of the Shishya. To tell in short what is Adhikaritva of the Shishya, we can refer to the shloka in the Gita. Tad buddhi pranipatena pariprashnene sevaya. And we find the Shishya should have these three qualities. He should be humble, He should think and he should know to ask questions. It has been my experience that often when we meet the youth, especially when I was doing the values education work in Sri Ramakrishna Ashrama at Rajkot and Gujarat, and we will have youth seminars, and sometimes we'll share deep ideas of Swami Vivekananda with them, and then we will tell them to ask questions. And to my wonder, often I found that the youth are sometimes they're not trained enough to ask questions also. That shows that they're not able to ponder into the thing. So pariprashna is a very important aspect of a student in the Gurukul. And the third thing is seva. Seva, I'll put it in this way that whatever he has learned, he should be put it into action. So pranipata, pariprashna, and seva. In a way, I'll connect it to the sadhana of the Vedanta. Pranipata can be told to be Shravana, that humbly he will learn from the Guru. Pariprashna can be connected to Manana. Whatever he has heard from the Guru, he has to imbibe it, he has to make it a part of himself. It should not be something which he is just carrying, but it should be a part of his existence. That is, and that will come only through Manana, Pariprashna. And Seva can be Nididhyasa. So a Gurukula should really ensure that whosoever is coming out of the doors of the Gurukula with the tag of graduation should really have an imprint of whatever is taught in the Gurukula. What is the prayojan of it? What is the need of staying in a Gurukula? I'll answer this question by dividing learning into 5 steps. The first step is introduction. The second step is information. The third step is insight. The fourth step is inspiration. And the fifth step is implementation. And whenever we are introduced to an idea, we get information from it. The next thing is that we should be able to get the insight of it. The first two things, the introduction and the information, will come from the Guru. But at the point of the insight, the Guru and the Shishya, they meet together. Sometimes the Guru has to come to the level of the Shishya, and sometimes the Shishya has to really exert himself to go to the level of the Guru. And in this way, he will really learn what the Guru wants to teach him. But the fourth step is that he will get an inspiration from this insight. What is this inspiration? This is the urge, the earnestness to make that knowledge a part of his life. And that will come only when he will start to implement whatever he has learned in his life. This is a long process. These are 5 steps, and one leads to the other. And this can only happen when the Shishya will stay with the Guru. And so the Gurukula system really serves its purpose and shows its importance and necessity if we think of the learning process in this way. What is the Sambandha? The Sambandha is in the definition of Vidya itself, Sa Vidya Ya Vimukta. Staying with the Guru, the Shishya will really learn what is the goal of all knowledge. Our scriptures, our Indian spiritual and cultural heritage has told us that the goal of all knowledge is the filling of the oneness. Aham Brahmasvi Tattvamasi. This Mahavakya are the goal of human life. And staying with the Guru, slowly, with the spirit of the oneness, staying together, togetherness will lead to oneness. And that will really bring the Sambandha to the Shishya. In our Ramakrishna order tradition, we have Sri Ramakrishna teaching in a very unique way. I'll just share a few aspects of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. Sri Ramakrishna, we find, he would always inspire others with his own example. He would always tell something to a person what he has himself done. He will not, quote something from a textbook. Another thing which we find in Sri Ramakrishna is that he was a very strict taskmaster. A guru has to be strict for the good for the benefit of the student. Sometimes maybe he will scold, he will rebuke, and even he will punish, but that's like a doctor's knife. at the end that will do good to the student. Unfortunately, for various reasons, we have not understood this aspect where love is actually expressed through rebuke, and we don't have this connection with the Guru and the Shishya nowadays. The third aspect that we see in Sri Ramakrishna is that he will always keep on pushing the Shishya towards the ideal. He will never tell him this is the end. There is something forward, go forward, go forward, go forward. That is what Sri Ramakrishna keeps on telling. And the fourth aspect we find in Sri Ramakrishna is that as was the capacity of the Shishya, so he will teach him. Jatomat Tatopat, as many says, so many ways, as many faiths, so many paths. According to the capacity of the Shishya, he will slowly take him towards the ideal. We come to Holy Mother. The Holy Mother is also a part of this Gurukula tradition in the Ramakrishna order. In Holy Mother, we see a unique way of imparting knowledge. The first thing that she does to connect herself with the Shishya is through a motherly aspect, love. But soon the Shishya finds out that this motherly aspect is not the everything of Holy Mother, and she has a Guru aspect also. She's telling the Shishya, the disciple, what is the truth, the ultimate truth. She's not only bestowing love as an earthly mother does. And when we look at the life of Holy Mother and how she is dealing with her disciples, it's quite a wonder to find that there is a third step also. Holy Mother, Srima Sarada Devi, first she manifests as a mother, then as a guru, and then the disciples find that there is a mystic aspect to her, the Devi aspect. And we find through the motherly aspect, she's bestowing love. Through the Guru aspect, she's bestowing guidance. And through the Devi aspect, she's bestowing protection. And often when we look to our teachers, these three things are what we are looking for: love, guidance, and protection. Talking about Swamiji in the Gurukula tradition is a very vast and a very deep topic. I'll just share one thing about Swamiji in the context of this Gurukula tradition. Swamiji has revived the Gurukula tradition in the Ramakrishna order, a bit adjusted it with the modern aspects, and given us the details of it. In the Ramakrishna order tradition, we find the Gurukula tradition has been like a parampara, and the other direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they have taken this parampara. So in a way, we can say Sri Ramakrishna is the principle, Holy Mother gave the theology. Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother are the principles, Swamiji gave the theology, and the direct disciples gave the pattern to us. In the Buddhist tradition, we find the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, as if they represent the Buddha. Swamiji gave us the Dharma, and the direct disciples gave us the Sangha. And this tradition, this Sangha tradition, parampara, is still continuing. Three things are necessary in this Gurukula tradition. Sri Ramakrishna is to tell everyone who would come to him, three things are necessary to be known: who are you, and what the ideal is, and how the ideal can be lived. Actually, he would say, who are you, who I am, and what is the relation between us. I've a bit modified it according to the topic, and I put the questions like that. Three things are known, should be known, are necessary to be known: who the students are, and what the ideal is, and how the ideal can be. If we try to answer who the students are, we get the answer in a very clear way in Swamiji's words. The students were told that each soul is potentially divine. They're divine, but it is potential. So something is needed to make that potential divinity kinetic. And what the ideal is? The ideal is, as Swamiji says, each soul is potentially divine. The ideal is to manifest the divinity within. That manifestation is the very important thing. Just knowing the ideal is within us is not enough. The Gurukula tradition actually concentrates on that slow and steady but sure process of manifestation. And how the ideal can be lived in the Gurukula tradition of the Ramakrishna order, Swamiji has given this scope to each and everyone. He has brought the synthesis of the four yogas. Men is in a way a combination of the heart, the head, and the hand. Some people are emotional, some people are philosophical, some people are active, And so Swamiji has brought the synthesis of the four yogas, the Bhakti Yoga for the emotional, the Karma Yoga for the active, the Jnana Yoga for the philosophical, and the Dhyana Yoga, the Raja Yoga for the contemplative. And in that way, in this Gurukula tradition, by the synthesis of the four yogas, the Chatur Yoga Samanvaya, Swamiji has given us the imprint of how we can really put this Gurukula tradition into our life. Now, I'll just end, telling that how this entire discussion is, in a way, connected to this topic of this national seminar. The Ramakrishna order is like a seed, a model that Swamiji Maharaj has put in front of the entire world. Sri Ramakrishna is said to be the prophet of the age. So all his teachings are very relevant. They are just not for a group of monastics, they are for everyone on this earth. So, in short, I'll end with this request to everyone who has listened to this humble offering of mine, that let us explore this tradition of the Ramakrishna order. Let us go to the centers, talk with the Swamis, talk with the devotees, try to find out how all these great teachings can be made part of our life. And the takeaway message that I will give at the very end is that the Gurukula tradition of the Ramakrishna order tells us, be and make. I'm very thankful to everyone for giving me a patient hearing. Dhanyavad. Om Sri Ramakrishna.
Very, very beautiful, Maharaj. It's really nice. Be and make. That is the summary of the Gurukula tradition that you have brought out from within the Ramakrishna order. And I'm really impressed at the sweep of connections that you could make as to how the whole parampara mixes with the traditional heritage of how our gurus were and how the Shishyas were maybe thousands of years back, and how Swamiji was able to bring in the essence of it. Swami Vivekananda was able to bring in the essence of it and bring it into the Ramakrishna order, and how Holy Mother and Ramakrishna and the Shishyas, the disciples, direct disciples, have been able to propagate it out such that today we see a very vibrant and a very robust Ramakrishna order as an exemplar of what it could mean to be a role model for what Gurukula could be, right? Gurukulam heartbeats is just about that, and it's very inspiring to see how the exemplars in the Ramakrishna order are. And of course, when people get inspired to join the order, I guess they are the ever hungry supplicants, wanting to know more and wanting to get more. Thank you so much, Swamiji. This is really, really
Dhanyavad.
nice. Well, thank you so much. I would now go to the uh, program schedule that we have for today. And when we see the theme of Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning, we are essentially talking about proactive practical learning that happens in a typical Gurukulam, and how we can kind of possibly experience it in the contemporary life. In fact, I have our next speaker, who is Professor M.A. Alvar. So let me introduce Professor M.A. Alvar and bring him onto the stage. He is going to talk on the nuances of impactful Guru Shishya Parampara. Professor Alvar, I think he's just um, stepped off the video, but let me introduce Professor Alvar. Professor Alvar did his studies in the most traditional way, in the Gurukula, Guru Shishya Parampara. And very interestingly, while he studied what he had to study within the framework of uh, the traditional education, he also studied English under a Scottish teacher. So he is a very, what should I say, very profound and famous for his insightful expositions of Vedanta, especially of the Sri Vaishnava tradition. Professor Alvar did his master's from Bengaluru University and his PhD from Mysore University, and is right now working in the Maharaja Sanskrit College in Mysuru, which is affiliated with the Karnataka Samskrita University. Professor Alvar, you are most welcome to our forum, and we request you to share your thoughts on the nuances of impactful Guru Shishya Parampara. Professor Alva.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Kashaya Shobhikavaniya Shikhanivesham Dandatrayojvadakaram Vimalopavitam Udyaddineshanibhamullasadurdhapundram Rupam Tavastu Yatiraja Trishormamagre. Hari Om. Sahanavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. First of all, I would like to offer my humble pranams to the great Swami Vedanishtananda ji, who has given us a very inspiring talk about the Gurukula system. I also offer my respects to Sri Kamakoti ji, who is also a great scholar and also, if I am correct, the son of Professor Vivekananda, who once again is a great scholar who was a professor in the Madras University, if I am right. I really cherish this opportunity to say a few words about the exalted Gurukula system that prevailed in India and continues to prevail in some pockets even today. The title given to the theme, or the theme of this program, is immersive learning. This is one of the most important aspects that we don't have today, because what is immersive learning is well encapsulated in the Vedic mantra which I just chanted. Saha nau avatu, saha nau bhunaktu, saha viryankaravavahai, tejasvinau adhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. This is the mantra that both the teacher and student, that is the Acharya and Shishya, have to chant together, both during at the beginning of the class as well as at the end of the class. This summarizes the type of immersive learning that the Gurukula system advocated and followed. What does this mean? Sahanau avatu. Let the Supreme Lord protect both of us together. Saha nau avatu. Naha is the two of us. Saha means together. Saha nau bhunaktu. Let him enlighten us. Let the Supreme Lord enlighten both of us. Why? Saha viryankaravavahai. We are going to embark on a wonderful journey of discovering the Supreme, discovering the world, discovering everything that is unknown to us. So therefore, it's a very, very challenging journey that we are undertaking right now. So we need all the blessings of the Supreme Lord so that we can undertake this journey in the right spirit. Therefore, it is said, Saha Viryam Karavavahai. What is Virya? Virasya Bhavaha Viryam. It requires a great amount of wherewithal to accomplish this wonderful journey and reach the destination. Therefore, this word Virya is very important. And we both, that is the Acharya and Shishya together, shall embark upon this journey. Then, how do we do it? Tejasvinau adhitamastu. Let both of us have that splendor, have that vigor which inspires learning. Therefore, it is said, Tejasvinau adhitamastu. Let both of us have that vigor, have the perseverance that inspires us to go the distance, because it's a very, very long journey. Of course, long journeys can be accomplished in shorter periods of time when we have the necessary resources. And one very important aspect is Ma Vidvishavahi. There should never be any sort of disconnect. There should never be any sort of misunderstanding. There shouldn't be any sort of animosity between us. So this is the essence of what immersive Gurukula system is all about. Many times we see that the student and teacher do not see eye to eye. It happens today in many cases. We also come across incidents where the teacher doesn't want to teach everything that he knows to the student. He will concede several aspects for the fear that the student might surpass the teacher or himself in due course and he may lose his position, etc. That was never what the Indian gurus envisaged. Therefore it says, Sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinau adhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Let us not have any type of animosity towards each other at any stage. Because in India, there is a beautiful tradition which says, Shishya chet parajay. The Guru will actually deeply appreciate a student who has the capacity to defeat himself, that is, defeat the Guru himself. Of course, the Shishya is also so careful and so modest that even if he surpasses his Guru, he will never do it. That is the beauty of the Gurukula system. Many times we see that the Shishya will become greater than the Guru, but he will never show it off. He has that sense of modesty is inculcated in him, that he remains ever grateful to the Guru. This is the most important aspect. So, how was this? How did the immersive Guru Shishya tradition continue on prevail the Gurukula system? So, according to the Vedic tradition, we see that the word Acharya is used rather than the word Guru. Of course, the word Guru is also widely prevalent, but we see that the word Acharya is used in predominantly many places. Vedamanucha Acharya Ante Vasina Manushasti. That's what the Taittiriya Upanishad says. In the last stanza of the Chandogya Upanishad, it says, Acharya Kulatve Namahitya Guroh Karmadisheshena, etc. A very beautiful exposition of what the Gurukula system is all about. It says, Guroh Karmadisheshena Abhisavavritya Kutumbe Shuchau Deshe Swadhyaya Madhyana Dharmikan. The wonderful passage is given at the end of the Chandogya Upanishad. And it says what happens ultimately. Sakhal Vevam Vartayan Yavadayusham Brahmharo Kamabhisam Padyate Nacha Punaravartate Nacha Punaravartate. A person who spends his life in this manner, Brahmalokam Abhisam Padyate, he attains the exalted, unsurpassed Brahmaloka, the abode of the Supreme Brahman. And then what happens? Nacha Punaravartate. He will not come into this samsara, which is a symbol of great bondage. So this is ensured by the Acharya. The Acharya actually sees to it that the Shishya or the disciple thrives both here and hereafter. That is the greatness of the Gurukula system, what we call as the immersive Gurukula system. So who is an Acharya? What is the definition of an Acharya? If I mention this or explain this, that will suffice to understand what Gurukula system is all about. So, who is an Acharya? It is mentioned, Achinoti Shastrartha, Acharya Sthapayatyati, Swayam Acharate Yasmati, Tasmad Acharya Uchyate. These 3 points are sufficient to summarize the uniqueness and greatness of a true Acharya. And when I say true Acharya, all those who wish to be Acharyas have to emulate these qualities. What are they? Achinoti Shastrartha. A true Acharya is adept in very succinctly explaining all the nuances of all the Shastras. So this one shloka can be described over 15 to 20 hours. So much of information is stuffed into this shloka. So what do you mean by Shastra? What do you mean by Shastrarthas? And what do you mean by saying Achinoti? He actually takes the purport, because when you talk about the Indian Shastras, they are huge, mammoth. Even the Vedas are said Ananta Vai Veda. So how can one teach all the Shastras, all the texts? It is practically impossible. It will take several births or several thousands of years. So it says Achinoti. So he actually selects the most important aspects of the Shastras. And he actually presents it to the Shishya. So it is both very important to know what is the purport of the Shastras. I will not go into the details of that, because once again, there is only 20 minutes of time that is given to me. I will not exceed that. Then Acharya Sthapayatyati. He establishes the Shishya, the disciple, Acharya. So what is meant by the word Acharya? Once again, this is a huge topic. It says, Panchendriyasya Dehasya, Buddhescha, Manasasthatha, Dravya Desha Kriyanancha, Shuddhihi Achara Ishyate. Absolute purity, pristine purity of all these aspects is what is known as Achara. Which are these aspects? Panchendriyas, the 5 Indriyas, the 5 sense organs, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. So, attaining pristine purity of the 5 Indriyas. How this is to be attained? Once again, it's a huge topic. How do we attain purity of the eye? How do we attain purity of the tongue? The purity, I'll just give a key to the topic. The purity of the eye is attained when a person sees only good things. He does not see murders being committed. He does not see scenes that we see in films and serials in the TV today. So, achieving absolute purity of the 5 Indriyas. Then, Panchendriyasya Dehasya. Then, absolute purity of the body. Once again, this is to be explained in great detail. I am only giving the bullet points. Then, Buddhe, Manasasthatha. What is the difference between the Buddhi and the Manas? These are the very important and deep topic. But purity of the mind and purity of the intellect, we can keep it as that for the time being. And Dravya, Desha, Kriyanancha Shuddhi. Achieving the purity of all the implements that we use in our life. They are known as Dravyas. Achieving the purity of the location where we exist, that is known as the Desha. And purity of all the Kriyas or activities that we undertake. Each of these warrants a very, very detailed exposition according to the Shastras. So, Panchendriyasya Dehasya Buddheshcha Manasasthatha Dravya Desha Kriyanancha Shuddhihi Achareshya. This is what is known as Acharya. So, an Acharya is such a person who helps the disciple or the Shishya to establish himself in pristine purity with regard to all these aspects. It's a mind-boggling issue what we actually have just discussed. So is it limited to that, or is there something more? This is the most key point that we are going to see. Swayam Acharate Yasmat. So the Acharya is a person, true Acharya is a person who practices what he preaches and who preaches what he practices. Tasmad Acharya Uchyate. Only then he can be called an Acharya. And he is such a person. He is a true Acharya who can run a Gurukula and see to it that the student reaches the destination, not only here, but also hereafter. This is the summary of the Gurukula system, which is known as immersive learning. Today, it's almost impossible to even imagine such a situation. But someday we have to know, or we have to even enrich our capacity to imagine such good things. So this is in what the Gurukula system or the immersive Gurukula system, as Dr. Mohan has rightly worded it. I am really happy that he has used the word immersive in this context. So I hope I have been able to give a very, very minute glimpse about what this system is all about. Of course, it warrants a great amount of explanation, which enriches our understanding, which opens our eyes. I am sure about it, because all of us today, including me, are almost blind to these traditions due to various aspects, due to the onset of modern education, etc. With these words, I conclude my very, very brief address. I thank Mohan for thinking about me and asking this task. I name it as an order that he has given to me, and I hope I have been able to. I am not disappointed, Dr. Mohan, in what I have
No,
said.
not at all.
Thank you very
In fact,
much.
I should like to say thank you so much. In fact, we are all disappointed on only one count. I do not know if it is true for everybody. There's been a lot of static at your end, and your voice was pretty low. And I hope we can fix that in the panel discussion. And that's something which I would like to address upon, to request Professor Alvar to address in the next few minutes, perhaps. And it was a very wonderful discussion and nuanced explanation of what the relationship with um, the guru and the shishya is, to be able to be very impactful. And he brought it out in a very beautiful way with the mantras that are spread across so many of our scriptural books. And on that note, I'd like to say that I would like to go to the next speaker. And the program schedule says that for the theme of Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning, we have the next speaker, who is Sri Kamakoti. He's the founder and managing trustee of Sri SCVG Vedashramam Natur, Tamil Nadu. So Sri um, Vidya Ganapati Vedashram. Now he's going to speak to us on inspirational secrets of transformational lifestyles in Veda Patashalas. So let me welcome Professor Kamakoti in a uh, warm way. And
Thank you.
welcome, sir. Uh, for those of you who may know him, he is very much into the corporate world. He was into the corporate world some time back. In fact, he rose to become the director of HR in a big software company called Polaris Software in Chennai. But then he had this deep inspiration because his father was a guru in a Gurukula tradition and had run a Gurukulam himself. So Sri Kamakoti has put in his own resources, and he's been able to build up a large institution, which is Sri Chatur Veda Vidya
Yeah.
Ganapati Vedashramam. And what is important here is that he has been running this for the past 10 years. and he has got 140 students under his arm, under his wings. And more importantly, being a HR specialist, he's able to bring the blend of the both best of the both. The blend of contemporary management of human resources and human beings. Along with that, he is blending that with the way Gurukulam has to be run, especially the Veda Pathshalas, so that the graduates of the school, in fact, many of the graduates of this school are now become acharyas in so many other Veda Pathshalas. So let's hear Sri Kamakoti speak on the inspirational secrets of transformational lifestyles in Veda Pathshalas, because we hardly know what these Veda Pathshalas do, how they run, etc., etc. So Kamakoti ji, the screen is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan ji, and thanks a lot, Swamiji Veda Nishtananda ji and Professor Alwar. I was listening to Swamiji, and he was beautifully able to connect the 5 C's of running a Gurukulam: the context part, the connect part, the camaraderie part, the concepts within a Gurukulas, and the communication part, connecting all the stakeholders. Very well delivered. It was definitely learning for me. And coming to Professor Alwar, certainly the traits of a guru who is an ideal Shishya, and moreover how they both have to be, and how a traditional Gurukul runs have been running, and how the modern day Gurukul should run, etc., have all been very well touched upon, and both the speakers definitely have added value to me, and it was a learning for me. And coming back, thanks again to Ramakrishna Mission. This workshop, through this workshop, I wish to share some of my thought processes on how Veda Pathshalas follow a structured process while imparting knowledge to transform its asserts, the innocent and highly committed children who join the Pathshalas for pursuing their Vedic studies. These kids who join the Veda Pathshalas come with varied cultural, educational, linguistic, socio-economic, and demographic backgrounds. The only observable trait in them is their Shraddha, that is abundantly exhibited when they enter into the Pathshala. The process being adopted by these knowledge houses, that is the Veda Pathshalas, to transform and bring these beautiful and innocent children of the God into one common platform and inducting them into the regular stream of imparting knowledge are very, very distinct to each of these children. These techniques are best known to the acharyas under whom these kids are blessed to get their tutelage. Essentially here, the acharya does his best to take along all these kids who come with very, very different backgrounds, and bring them all under one umbrella becomes a very tough task in the initial days. To bring them onto one platform, I think hats off to all the gurus, and especially in my context, our Veda Pathshala has students coming from across India, starting from North Kashi to within that UP, then you have from Bihar, from Assam to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu. So all these children come with very distinct backgrounds, but uniting them under one umbrella, bringing them all to one platform itself is a Herculean task for the gurus even to start. They join the Patashala at a very young age of 7 post their Upanayana Samskara, and bringing them all to one ground has been a testing time for the teacher. But to our surprise, within couple of months, these teachers are able to bring them along and to make them a part of the whole stream itself definitely deserves a mention of their efforts and time spent with them. What does Patashala give to the society, in my understanding, is in common man's definition. The purpose of Veda Patashalas is to take the students from the Samajam, add tangible values onto its pupils, and give them back to the Samajam as learned and cultured individuals. Veda Patashalas follow a Gurukul system for imparting knowledge to the students. In the modern society, Gurukuls are of two types. One which follow the Guru Shishya model, where the Guru or the Acharya imparts knowledge, keeping the students under their direct supervision or under their umbrella, keeping a limited number of Shishyas under him in his home, and grooms them on the areas of knowledge that the Guru learned from his Guru. And this is how the parampara and the lineage continues. The other type is a similar one, but slightly broad-based, where institutions undertake to engage scholars in its fold and impart the Vedic and related knowledge to students who are joined the institution, and they learn Vedas under the Pandits. Our Veda Patashala comes under the later style. Our institution, as introduced by Dr. Mohan, is Sri Chaturveda Vidya Ganapati Vedashram. This is located in Chengalpat district of Tamil Nadu near Kanchipuram. So offering Vedic studies in 3 Vedas, within which 5 shakas, namely Rigved, Yajurved, Samved, and within Yajurved we have Shukla Yajurved and Krishna Yajurved. Under Shukla Yajurved we offer Kanva Shaka and Madhyandika Shaka. About 185 Vidyarthis have joined us from across the country. Today, this is one of the largest Vedic institutions in Tamil Nadu, with an aim to modernize the peripheral aspects of the learning system, keeping the core of the Guru Shishya lineage undisturbed. This is our approach to offering education to all eligible seekers this precious knowledge. Coming back to the Gurukulams, the residential schooling system's origin dates back to around 5000 BC in the Indian subcontinent. The focus of Gurukuls is imparting holistic knowledge in a natural surrounding where all Shishyas live like one family with brotherhood, humanity, love, and discipline. In Veda Patashalas, which run in Gurukul style, chanting of mantras in a more proven method, which evolved and in existence for centuries, performing yoga, meditation, etc., generate peace of mind and positivity. The highly systematic and rigorous system being practiced in Gurukuls, learnt by the Sishyas mostly by observing the Guru and the elders, throughout their stint in Weatherpad. Students pick up their routines, and this helps them in their personality development, enhanced level of confidence, sense of discipline, intellect, and mindfulness, which are essential traits for them to face the world that lay ahead of them. Experiential learning is the crux of Gurukul system of learning. The Shishtacharam, Anushtanams that are inbuilt into the Patashala system naturally brings them these traits that are most welcome by the society in these kids. Today's so-called modern education is all about rat race, to be ahead of others as its core theme. This lacks moral conscience and ethical training. This lay low importance to value-based education and some of the life lessons in the upbringing process of a child, such as tolerance, practicing ahimsa, contented living, coexistence, kindness to all living beings, broad-mindedness, schedule adherence, healthy food habits, peace loving, etc. etc. The core theme of Gurukul education is self-disciplining oneself by way of continuous harnessing of these sattvic gunas in every individual, which will percolate to the communities they live in and will pave way for transformation of the entire mankind in the long run. The whole Patashala's activities centers around the Guru, and he is the cause and effect of such a transformation process happening on every student of him. Having experienced the relative advantage in the qualitative upbringing process and connecting the big picture, the question arises as to the need for this broad basing of Gurukul system across the country. The prevailing view in many on Gurukul system is that of being an unstructured and unobservable concept is only a myth. The mere thought of Guru as the means of learning and the absence of a well-timed curriculum can make the pupils wonder how exactly will the learnings be effective. The Gurukul model of learning Vedas have proved effective over centuries, and the most toughest process of learning Vedas has passed through thousands of years through the Guru Shishya Parampara up till date. That too, in the absence of any written down manuscript, is enough and more evidence of the sanctity built in and the proof of concept for its overall effectiveness. The primary reason for its sustenance even today is the emphasis on the applied knowledge that gets passed on through generations from Guru to Shishya. The spiritual awareness and the bhavam observed and learned by the students following the Guru in absolute faith, inculcated from the day one of his being in the Gurukul system, makes them better individuals of tomorrow. Contrary to the method of judging students merely on academic performances, as is being practiced in modern day education system, the Gurukul system works on imparting value-based training, focusing on good character building in its students. The Gurukul system is far away from fierce competition and increased stress level that usually leads to depression in modern day schooling system. I've just come to the last portion. Just to conclude, overall, the idea of inculcating a Gurukul system in Indian education is to assist our children to understand the concept of leading a balanced life taught from an young age and preparing our children to make informed decisions about the way they wish to live and lead their life. The Gurukul system being followed with absolute spirit in Veda Pathshalas help students develop their physical, mental, and spiritual development and become a holistic personality through experiential learning process. This is best suited as the way forward for a holy country like ours. The system, in my view, is certain to inspire our younger generation to live a life with a purpose for themselves and to the society they live in and the country at large. So, in my personal experience, the value add that the students get in a Veda Pathshala are tremendous, and the Guru is the cause and effect. I repeat once more, and the Guru definitely uses all the techniques under his umbrella, as we normally say, Samadana Bed. Of course, Dandam is not used to bring along the students in the best way possible and grooms them to be very effective in their lifestyles. Thanks again to scholars in the workshop. Thank you, Dr. Mohan. And definitely, this has pondered many views in me to share. But for paucity of time, let me just limit with this. Once more,
Wonderful.
to all.
A very
Nice.
beautiful sweep of the life in the Gurukulam, especially from what you have touched upon, is very interesting. And of course, the slides were also very interesting, especially seeing the kids who are studying in your Gurukulam and the way they are going about their everyday lives. And that's very enlightening. And perhaps, to all the viewers in the program, if it's possible, you should go visit Sri Kamakoti ji and this Vedapat Shala just to get the experience of what it means to see how Vedapat Shalas and Gurukulams are conducted or run in modern times. So, thank you so much, and it's very nice for you to have shared a lot of interesting thoughts in matters related to the inspirational secrets of the transformational lifestyles in Veda Pathshalas. Yes, the Guru lives life, a transformational life. The Shishyas get inspired, and I think there are a lot of secrets that came out in so many ways, seeing the faces of the Shishyas whom you had put in the photographs. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We move to the
Wonderful.
next part of our program. Please be on the show. Um, we are now going to go to the panel discussion where we are going to have our Puja Swamiji and Professor Alvar discuss on the most interesting topic, which is what works in immersive dharmic experiential tapasya. What happens in a Gurukulam is that the folks, the inmates, are kind of voluntarily restricting their lifestyles to what they think is very important to achieve in their life. And therefore, what happens there is essentially that the people have to apply themselves in certain immersive ways which the guru leads. And the question is, what works? What works in immersive dharmic experiential tapasya? So let me start this question to Pujya Swami Vedanishtanandaji Maharaj. Swamiji, we have gurus, we have shishyas. How do you really find out who's a good guru and who are the good shishyas? Meaning, there has to be adhikara for both in order to be able to do this ultimate in transmitting the transformational secrets, I suppose. So, how does one go about understanding how one can be the best of the shishyas, qualified shishyas? How does one go about trying to know who is the qualified guru?
To answer this question, I think I'll not put that tag of good or bad on a guru
Okay.
because it is our cultural and spiritual heritage of India that tells us to approach the Guru with Shraddha.
Okay.
But still, I understand your question that I think if you put that thing, a good guru is he who really knows how to impart the knowledge to whosoever comes to him.
Okay.
Knowledge is sacred. And in a place, Swami Vivekananda says that knowledge always illumines to whomsoever it reaches. Swami Vivekananda, in a way, is against the Adhikari Vada. He says that today or tomorrow or sometime knowledge will illumine. It may take some time, but we really cannot say that knowledge cannot be imparted. So, a good guru is he whosoever comes to him, understanding the capacity and the space where the Shishya is, the guru will teach him accordingly. And if someone can't do that, then maybe again I'll put that bad guru to him. Who
I
is
didn't really mean to say there are bad gurus, Maharaj, but then,
yeah, no,
like Sri
when you said
Ramakrishna
who is a good
says,
guru and that
Sri Ramakrishna says, gurus are of various gradations, perhaps, and shishyas are also of various gradations. A
yes, yes,
guru could be appropriate for a shishya, and if the guru is
yeah,
not appropriate, then it's like blind
right.
man leading another blind man and both falling into the gutter,
Yes, yes.
right?
In this context, actually, you have made me remember the words of Sri Ramakrishna in his teachings, and he actually categorizes the guru,
Right,
and he says that there is there is the Uttama Guru, there is the Madhyama Guru, and there is the Adhama Guru also. I'll share
right,
that.
right.
He says that the Adhama Guru is the one who will just impart the knowledge and tell, here I'm teaching you, please learn it.
Okay,
The Madhyama Guru is the way, is the person, is the Guru, the teacher who will encourage the student to learn. And in
right,
various ways, will try to infuse enthusiasm in it. Sri Ramakrishna says that the best of the Guru is he, the Uttama Guru is he, who will really end his teaching when he's very sure that the student has really learned. And for that, he will try to adopt and impart all kinds of processes. Yes. So, yes, there are various categories of guru also. And in the same context, I think if you are asking in a Gurukula system, who is a good Shishya or what are the eligibilities of a Shishya, I think it starts with faith. uh, Often in a spiritual tradition, and not only in a spiritual tradition, in any aspect of knowledge, branch of knowledge, when it goes to the depth, often the ideas become quite abstract and deep. And at that time, the Shishya has to really keep that faith on the words of the Guru. And it's like I should put it in a way, it's like a spiral development.
okay,
And he goes to the Shravana, he comes back to the Manana, again goes to the Shravana, comes back to the Manana. But he should have that faith that whatever my Guru is telling me, there is the jewel in that. There is what I'm searching, the treasure is there. Only I have to
so
put more
wonderful,
effort. So, in short, I will tell yes, a good Guru is he who will really end his work as a Guru when he's sure the knowledge has been imparted. And a good Shishya is he who will also end his part of learning when he has known that he has really learned.
beautiful,
So,
beautiful.
so that is my answer to your
Yeah,
question.
I should
Thank you.
like to take it to Professor Alvar. Professor Alvar, we have gurus, we have shishyas, and there's a guru shishya relationship that needs to develop. How does one go about developing this guru shishya relationship? Because it's easy to see accomplished gurus who are there, who are ready to give gyan and the experience, right? Immersive experience. And there are shishyas who think that they are
So
eager
I'm
to learn,
reminded.
but somewhere there's a mismatch. So how does one go about trying to get this guru shishya relationship really robust and solid? Are you able to hear us,
So
Professor Alvar?
I am reminded of a very beautiful shloka in Sanskrit. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you have to speak a little louder, and that will
Am I
really help.
audible?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Please go ahead and speak loudly, or maybe until Professor Alvar comes on board, I should ask this to Kamakoti. Kamakoti ji,
Yes.
tell us, how do you get this Guru Shishya relationship in a really solid way?
I will put it as the guru is one who is willing to go all out
Okay,
to impart the relevant knowledges to the Shishya is one who can be described as the best of the gurus, and one uh, who understands the student, his psychology, and uses his best of methods to impart what in what way he understands. If the guru can understand better, and then take the you know uh, lessons, the teachings, and he
okay,
means really, I would say, one who is able to understand the psychology of the Sishya and mends his methodology is one who is definitely a guru, and the students of one likes such teachers as well. One who understands, are in simple ways, the empathetic part of the guru
yes,
makes the bonding much more
beautiful,
stronger.
beautiful. In fact, I have a question which Pujya Swami Satyapriyanji Maharaj is asking you, and it's very appropriate because in your scheme of things, and this is very important, there is, he says, in a Gurukul, there's no scope for science, arts, and technical education. So, how to provide for a complementary educational system for total development? So, maybe you should speak about what you're doing in your Veda Pathshala for addressing this
Absolutely.
particular issue.
Yeah, this has become a trend. Whether it is needed or not is a different question. But this has becoming an essential part that this become a demand of the parents before even admitting their children into Veda Pathshala. Do you offer an integrated education to our children? So, just to satisfy them, we also have an academic stream where we offer academic education by enrolling the students to National Institute of Open Syllabus. There is a
National
syllabus.
Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS. Okay,
Yes. So this is under the Ministry of HRD, who uh, uh, teaches these children. Also, they have a curriculum that is best suited for Veda Pathshala students, and we enroll them and take them to get their 10th standard, 12th standard pass, so that when they go out of Veda Pathshalas after completing their Vedic education, they are also parallelly qualified to say to the world that they have passed their academic or education also. The essential part of it is that these children should not be feeling that they are left behind.
right.
So, what value addition that offers to these Vedic children are yet to be realized. Even and I would say our children who have not been subjected to this academic curriculum do a much better job than doing imparting both to these children, and their attention
So,
is
so
split
what you're
between the
saying,
two streams.
yeah. So,
But
what you're
however,
saying
this
is that,
because it is becoming essential and to meet the worldly requirements, we are also following this.
okay, wonderful. So, what you're saying is essentially that in Gurukulam, we have a great need for the students to focus on the Guru Shishya Parampara and learn
Absolutely.
traditionally. At the same
Yes.
time, instead of doing a formal education in parallel,
Yeah.
people have been found to be having the life skills to survive and to make things happen. I'm sorry. So I should ask our Swami Satyapriyanji Maharaj has a lot of questions, and I have a very interesting question here, which is essentially that this is for Professor Alvar. What is the place of Gurukuls in the national education policy of 2021? Professor Alvar, would you like to answer that?
So,
Are you able to hear us?
you want me to answer that?
Yes, yes. What is the place of Gurukuls in the national
Do you want
education
me to
policy
answer
of
that?
2020? Yeah, just give a quick answer. Do they recognize
Hello.
it? Do they understand it? Are you
Yes,
able to
yes,
hear
I am
us?
able to hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Give a quick answer for the place of Gurukuls in the national educational policy scheme of things.
Yes. As far as I know, traditional education. Yes. As far as I know, traditional traditional education is.
Continue speaking, sir.
As far as I know, traditional education is highly and they have actually said that it should be carried forward. But I don't know the exactly what wordings are used in the NEP.
Okay. So what you're saying is that traditional education has to continue and there'll be some support, but what exactly it is,
Should be
you're not aware
carried
of it.
forward. But
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know the
fine.
exactly what wordings are used in the NEP.
No, no problem, no problem. Maybe I should ask this to Swamiji.
Okay.
Swamiji, here's a
So,
question
but
that
I
again,
would like to.
right? Yeah,
But I don't see what.
okay. I think Professor Alvar has all kinds of challenges that is there. So let's hope that he gets it back. And there's another device that he's trying to use. I do not know which of the two devices is better, but let's see. So meanwhile, I would like to request Puja Swamiji to answer this very important question. And the question that comes again from Swami Satyapriyanji Maharaj is this. Uh, uh, the question is, how do you get families to send their children to Vedapat Shalas and Gurukuls? How will youth appreciate the use of the system? So the question is in a very interesting way, how do people, young people, join the Ramakrishna order, which is why they come to your Gurukul? How does the family gets its inspiration from? And how do they confidently uh, send them to the Ved Pathshala? Maybe there's a question to both you, Swamiji, and to the Sri Kamakoti here.
To put it in the context of the Ramakrishna mission, of course, we monks, we don't fall from the sky, we come from the families.
Right.
It's really quite difficult and quite a bit mystical, I think, to understand that how this inspiration, this divine inspiration, comes into someone's mind. We find that often the families they don't appreciate it, and they're against this their son becoming a monk. And we also have a lot of instances where the families they appreciate it, they understand it. Uh, I'll try to answer this question a bit of my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
As I know, my parents, they were not connected to Ramakrishna Mission at all. But somehow, by the divine grace, when I became a monk of the Ramakrishna order, and now when sometimes I get the opportunity to talk to my mother, especially, I find that uh, slowly they're understanding because they're living the life in the family, they're seeing the world,
Right.
they're experiencing it. And
Yes.
when they're trying to find out the answers of those questions, maybe they're finding those answers in the life that their son have chosen.
Yes.
Uh, and the question is that how does a family get its inspiration to send their children to Veda Patshalas, Gurukuls? How youth will appreciate the use of the system. To make them appreciate the system, I think these Veda Pathshalas, the Gurukuls, in all ways possible. Your program is one of the ways to take it to the
Right.
people, make them know about the benefits of it, the contributions of it. And once they know the positive side of it, of course, they will come forward. These are high ideas. It's not for everyone. So it may not be a very popular thing just now, but people who need it will come and accept this.
Wonderful,
That
wonderful.
is
That's very
my
nice.
answer. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I should ask this question to Sri Kamakoti. You have been having students come to you from all over India. That's what you said. You have a lot of North Indian students whose mother tongue is Hindi and they know nothing more than Hindi, perhaps, or Bihari, or meaning Bhojpuri, or
Absolutely.
perhaps wherever Bengali, if they are students from Bengal, or Gujarati, if they are from Gujarat. How do they get the motivation to get their children on board into your school, and what is the process which makes this transition smooth for them?
Essentially, I would attribute this trend, which is definitely changing to the positive side, to the awareness that has been created in the minds of the parents.
Okay.
The parents do realize the importance of learning our scriptures, learning our Vedic knowledge, and um, they willingly send their children, knowing that there are many other streams of education are best available to them. The government gives all kinds of subsidies and freebies, but still they prefer to send their children to Veda Pathshala. Is definitely a positive change that I'm experiencing. And traditionally, since I'm only a very lateral, a very latest entrant into this running of Pathshalas, last 10 years, even in my own experience, I feel educated families are bringing their children to admit their children to the Pathshalas, and those parents who are abroad, they feel enough is enough. The materialistic world is now over, and at least my child learns the right way. And they bring their children from abroad and brings them and then admits them in a Veda Pathshala. So I would say the increased awareness about our culture, the richness of our tradition, motivates them to send their wards to the Veda Pathshalas. The trend is definitely positive. It is not their economic background that drives them to Pathshala. That used to be the craze earlier. Now, 10% of my students' parents are working in IT industry, I would say. So they discontinue their children from CBSE schools, then the public schools at large, and they seek the best teacher or best institution and comes over. I have got IAS parents who are IAS and doctors, who are engineers, who are advocates as parents, have brought their children into our Veda Pathshala. Not from South. I have a secretary to a minister who is holding a very high position in the central ministry. Brought his child from Gurgaon to our Pathshala, and he's learning
Wow.
Samved. Yeah.
Wow. That's very,
So
very interesting.
trends are definitely positive. Trends are definitely positive, and this is definitely better for the society.
Beautiful. I think that's very amazing to hear these kinds of very positive statements that parents are so far-sighted that they are ready to enable their children to get the right kind of grooming, because, like Swami Vivekananda says, if one can be in the Gurukul, learn to control the senses, and then become a master, I suppose you can master the world around. Am I right? Somewhere there,
Let me
is
add
that?
one more point just to
Yeah.
corroborate what I'm saying. See, during the month of Kartigai, Tamil month Kartigai, we perform Veda Parayans at homes. We
Okay.
offer ourselves and go and chant Veda mantras at the residences. And during my initial days in the year 2014, 15 and all, I used to do a lot of propagation. In fact, I have banners kept in parks and went to schools and then promoted about our Veda Pathshalas offerings, etc. And I had sent, like Saravana stores in Tamil Nadu, I had given bit notices at common places saying, we are here for your sake and please invite us and we will chant at your home and we will come to our children will come and chant with mantras for your benefit, your well-being, etc. But initially it was tough to even enroll even 10%, and our 30 days in the month of Kartika used to fill only up to 7 or 8 days.
Okay.
And the later part of the period, let's say prior to COVID, we were performing Vedaparayans 3 or 4 in a day. Okay,
Oh,
and
that's
and
very interesting.
the initial days, who used to invite us are those who are in the age group of 60s, 70s. Okay, now those who are calling us for Vedaparanans at home are the age group of 30 and 40 who have got school going children, and they want us positive energy to be brought into their homes, and they
Oh,
make their children sit on the front row, listen to the Vedaparayans being performed for hours by our pandits and children. So this is
wonderful.
definitely a greater experience for us, and we feel honored that the society is welcoming our offerings, and we have a bright future to flourish
Beautiful.
in this institution. Yeah,
May I say that may a million Veda Pathshalas of that kind bloom. That is very
absolutely,
important because
absolutely.
yeah, it's a very interesting insight that you shared there. In fact, I would like to go back um, to the Swamiji because there's a friend here. His name is Suhas Chandra Bagi, who's asking this question. As Swami Vivekananda said, we have to combine Vedanta with Western science. As a student of higher studies, how to implant this into our personality in a practical way? So essentially, he's talking about using Gurukulam, the essence of Gurukulam in a modern setup so that he can be a student who can really be a lot more effective and efficient in absorbing knowledge. Maybe the Vidya of things around, apart from the Vidya of the inner self. Okay. So I'll repeat the question if you want. We have to,
Yes, please.
yeah, Puja, Swami Vivekananda had said we have to combine Vedanta with Western science. So his question is, as a student of higher studies, how to implant this in our personality in a practical way? That's his question to you, Swamiji.
Right. When Swami Vivekananda says that we have to harmonize Vedanta and Western science, and especially in his discussions in Raja Yoga, we find that Swamiji is putting that idea. What I understand is that it's not exactly that, Vedanta and Western science will just, appear to be the two sides of the same coin. What I understand that what Swamiji wanted was the harmony will work that a scientific temper will be introduced in the religious pursuit, which Vedanta does. I'll try to explain it in this way that in any pursuit of science, the one who is searching, he goes through 3 stages. First, there is a hypothesis, but he does not believe that hypothesis. He just takes that hypothesis to start his search in that science. Then he goes through the experiment, and whatever results he finds from that experiment, which he does in an unbiased way, and if the inference that he gets from that experiment, then he accepts that hypothesis, otherwise he does not. And another thing of science is that it can be repeated. It is sthana kala patra nirvishesha.
Right.
Vedanta actually satisfies these 3 aspects. Vedanta is not dogmatic. The guru gives the teaching, Shravana, but the Guru gives the entire liberty for the Manana actually. The Shravana is the hypothesis, the Manana is actually the experiment. And whatever the disciple reaches through that Manana, the Guru tells him to accept that. In the Upanishads, we'll find the Guru is sending back the disciple again and again for the deeper Manana and coming back. So, how to put it in our personality? Where Vedanta and Western science will come and stand together, it is a scientific temper. Whatever ideas we take, let us take them, put them into practice, find what we get from them, and then accept them. Not accept them as a result of a dogma, but as a result of our own practice. And only then it will be a part of our learning, and we can go ahead with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Swamiji, and that's very, very interesting and very nice way of putting it across. We have a question from our Puja Swami Satyapriyanji Maharaj, and he says, um, uh, how does Gurukuls derive financial support in the present day context? This is a question for Kamakoti.
Um, I would say the need is felt by the well-wishers, broad-basing our offerings to reach the right audience is a challenge, and we are somehow able to do that, and we are able to enjoy. I can only speak in my context. Lots of innovative schemes that we have brought in have made that energy or made that understanding in the general public. Just to give a few examples of the schemes that we have brought in to the public forums. Um, of course, these are all definitely traditional methods only. Let me tell you, we had uh, a library to be formed, okay, in our Pathshala. So I had said that the best gift that one can give to a school-going kid is to donate a book, okay, and especially in a Veda Pathshala context, you can donate a book or a cost of that, okay. I just said that in a learned family, you know how important a library is, and you either donate these 100 books that we wanted, or you offer rupees 500. It's very rudimentary, method of involving people, and the connect is more important. And say you offer the book that I wanted for my library, or in your family, if there are three of you, your spouse, and your child, offer us at least 500 rupees per book. So, uh, to my own surprise, I get more than what I wanted for my library. It's a beautiful
Oh,
library now formed, and abundant number of families have sponsored this, and my cause is met. Okay, so
wow.
if you make them understand the purpose and its genuinity, I think we are definitely understood well, and spontaneously support comes in.
Beautiful. I think that's a very interesting experience that you're narrating. All that you're saying is you had to be honest and sincere and transparent for people to see what you're doing. And then you ask your ask, which is saying that please donate some kind of certain specific kind of books for your Veda Pathshala. It's not that this Veda Pathshala read anything and everything that is there on the
Correct.
bookshelf in the bookstore. You ask
Yeah.
for certain specific books, and those books
Yes.
cost certain money, right? And you just
Correct.
said give some 500 rupees per head or something like that. And then
Yeah.
suddenly you found that
And
you
I
are
said the
inundated.
whole family should get involved. It is not you who have to contribute, even your son have to contribute. So
Okay.
I say that per member in a family, 500 rupees. Just set some ballpark number,
Oh, okay.
and
And you
yeah,
got enough there.
enough
All
and
right.
more, enough and more. I can set up one more library or give.
I think you should donate these books to another other Pathashalas too. That's a very
Absolutely,
interesting,
absolutely.
a very
So
interesting
touching the
statement.
hearts of the people with the purpose and the genuinity of the need. Once it is made understood, money is not a constraint.
Wow, wonderful. Here's a question from Thirumal Prasad. He's asking, what is the number of Veda Pathshalas in India and how many students are there? That's a very interesting question. It's a bit of a statistic. and
Yeah,
it's important to know how much efforts are being put across the nation to be able to um, nurture the traditions.
certainly. Let me just pick up this question. There are many, I would say hundreds of Veda Pathshalas.
Okay.
So, even in Tamil Nadu, once you just start picking up the names of Pathshalas, today it is in abundance. I would say close to about 500 Pathshalas, Veda Pathshalas exist in both the forms. One is a traditional Guru Shishya based pathshalas that are running under the scholars' direct tutelage and those who are run at an institutional level. However, the later part is very less, close to about 10 or 15. But scholars teaching students at their home are in plenty.
Okay.
So, if this can be extrapolated across the country, I would definitely say close to about 5,000 pathshalas would exist. And of course, we have not had perfect statistics on it, but I'm confident this would be the number of pathshalas that would exist now.
For the kind of
And
size of population that we have, I think this is a very
yes,
pitiable number, because I understand that in other what do you call faiths, they have a sizable number, much more than the number that you just mentioned, and
and
therefore it's very important
and
for us to
in
awaken
the
ourselves.
states, like states like Tamil Nadu, where there is a lot of hatred, okay, on our systems and traditions, this is definitely a great sign, I would say. 500,
Wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. In fact, there's another question that's coming up from Puja Swami Satyaprayanji Maharaj, and there's a question for our Swamiji here, Vedanistanji Maharaj. So, is there a Gurukul system for girls, women? How did Maitreyi and Gargi come up? So, let me repeat the question. Is there a Gurukul system for girls and women? How did Maitreyi and Gargi come up? And also, I'd like to, after I hear you, Maharaj, I'd like to pose this question to Kamakoti. So, that's a very interesting question, but maybe later. First, let's hear Swamiji. Swamiji, what do you say about it?
Yes, in the tradition of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Sarada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda, we have a spiritual Gurukula system, the Sarada Mutt, which was established and started on the centenary, or the birth centenary of the Holy Mother. And we find in the letters and the words of Swami Vivekananda, actually, he said that as a bird cannot fly in one wing only, so for the rejuvenation of India, both the women and the men, they're to be built up. And actually, Swamiji put more stress on the development, the uplift of women. The Saradamat is having a great legacy, and it is flourishing in each and every way. And when we read the magazine that they publish, the Nibodhata, or when we read various books on the Sangha Guru of the Saradamat, we find, yes, as Swamiji wanted and as Swamiji had told, he had given the prophecy that centering the life and teachings of Holy Mother, again, Gargi and Maitreyi will be born in this land of India. They are being born. And
Wonderful.
so we are having it very much, very much. We are having it.
Wonderful. In
Thanks.
fact, that's very interesting. A bird can't fly on one wing, and more
Yes,
importantly, Vedic traditions had the what do you call Rishikas like Maitri and
yes,
Gargi
yes,
come up
yes,
to such
yes.
systems, and that's
Right.
something that's very interesting. So I should like to ask this question to Kamakoti ji. So you are running a Veda Pathshala, and I see from the photos that there are exclusively male children who are studying there, right? It's a Gurukula
Yes,
system. Is there a Gurukula system for the girls that's also being done? Because today, if you closely observe, the girls have to be what you call brought up in a traditional way to appreciate the traditions. Not that they should not be exposed to modernity at all, but they also need to understand the traditions of being brought up in that direction. So So how do you think this is happening? What's happening there? And if you could share your thoughts, that would be really nice.
Um, this is a very conflicting question, I would say. Does the way Vedas permit um, uh,
No,
girl
this is a
children?
Gurukula system. We are not talking about Vedas here. We are talking about Gurukula system. And of course, Vedas permit or not, I do not know because there are so many opinions that could be
There
there.
are
But
definitely
at
the
least we know
varying
that
opinions.
Maitri and Gargi were Rishikas.
Understand that, but see, there are Gurukulams who teaches the essentials of learning the concepts of Vedas. There is one
Okay,
existing, as I know, it is promoted by Kanchi Shankar Mutt. There is a school essentially formed to take the girl children of today into a process called learning sampradayas. Okay,
okay.
where our what all that a girl child should learn about our tradition and culture are taught in depth, like that is learning slokas, the routines that girls have to perform in a typical family from
The
dawn to dusk.
Anushtanas. The Anushtanas
Everything
for
is being
themselves.
taught.
Okay,
Yeah, everything is being taught. I
okay.
think uh, that school limits itself only to this. But
Oh,
whether there are Patishalas, Veda Patishalas existing, even I will have to know.
okay. Very nice. That's important. So there's a scope for it. There's possibility of it. Just that we do not know what is happening and where they exist. And I'm sure going into the future, there could be some interesting, innovative ways in which enterprising families,
Certainly,
enterprising
certainly,
gurus
Satsai
might.
Baba promotes this in a very detailed way. Satsai institutions do induct girls and ladies to learning Vedantas, etc.
Yeah, I think
I know,
even the Chinmaya mission does that. Even the
yeah, yeah.
Arshavidya Ashramam of Swami Dayananda Saraswati does that. I think the Ramakrishna
Uh,
Math has Sharda Peeth, which has its own unique
absolutely,
traditions to do that. And I think it's a very
yeah.
interesting way in which Maitris and Gargis and so many of these Rishikas can come up in the modern context too. That's very interesting. In fact, I just wanted to share that Professor Alvar couldn't continue to join us because of technical difficulties. He has some challenges there, but then we miss him because we would want to ask this question to him, but maybe at a later date, later time. So the question that comes up next, which is very interesting and important for us, is uh, there's a um, proposal to establish a Vedic board by the central government in 2016, right? But has been kept pending due to political reasons. Are you aware of it, Kamakoti ji? And if so, what is the state of it? What's happening there?
There were proposals sent, and it's still pending.
Okay.
Um, but revival process is on. We have all of us in Veda Patshalas have again reapproached the current government, and they are to consider it.
Yeah, in fact, again another observation by Tirmal Prasad. He says Baba Ramdev ji is planning to establish 700 Vedic Pathshalas in India. I don't know what that number 700 is and what kind of Vedic Pathshalas. It could be, I'm sure, that must be some integrated approach to encourage children to imbibe the essence of Vedas, even while they are kind of growing up in the modern context. Are you all in touch with them? What's happening there? Can you share some thoughts there? Because ultimately, it's all about the immersive, dharmic, experiential tapasya that these gurukulams and Veda Pathshalas have to do, right? So, Kamakoti ji.
I have no much knowledge of what Baba Ramdev is promoting, sir. No idea.
Okay. All right. So here's another question by a gentleman who has come in. His name is Sri Krishnan Venkateswaran. Krishnan Venkateswaran. He is posing a problem, and this is something very interesting. He says COVID has brought Netflix like online platforms at the fingertips of the children. Okay. Modern society We have Netflix as a platform for viewing uh, videos and movies, etc. And this is perhaps accelerating their distance from the east into the direction of the west. What are your comments? How do you think we can reverse the trend? What do you think should be done to counter it? How do you think we can offer better offerings which are attractive for these children who are all in the modern society?
Let me pick up this question with my own experience.
Okay,
Um, Running Veda Pathashala needs lots of resources these days.
okay,
And during the last 1.5 years, uh,
hmm,
all the schools have been closed, including Veda Pathashalas were kept under lock and key. And
okay,
even if I my repeated saying that this is a Gurukul and our students are always in house and there is no threat, and I am also located in a very remote place, etc. But somehow we were not allowed to function. But our standard expenses and outflows remain. Okay, in a typical Veda Pathashala, the larger outflow is not the food, is not the maintenance, but it is the wages or the salaries to the pundits. In an institutional setup, unless we give in plenty
I
these
think the
pundits.
question, yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with you that, yeah,
I'm just coming to that. So definitely, the we could not say like corporates. I was also in corporate. I was cutting salaries of my employees to 30% and 50%, but in a Veda Pathshala, we could not do it. So we had the challenge of meeting our outflows. So that prompted us to start online programs and offer Vedic lessons to grahasthas across the globe.
oh,
We
okay,
converted this challenge into an opportunity, and all our Vedic Pandits were put on the job of, in conducting Veda camps. And to our surprise, across the globe, we had registrations. And in fact, even today, post my reopening my Pathshala, there are demands pending from almost 500 students who are aged from 7 to 70, wanting us to replay what we did. Because of bandwidth issues, we could not, but the online programs were very, very receptive, and we could bring in a cultural change from people across age group, across the geographies and across
beautiful.
countries. Yeah.
So,
So
so
we,
what
we,
you're
we
saying is that online programs which are there on Netflix, which is what the kids tend to gravitate to, in order to be able to counter them, it's the parents who will have to take up the initiative in the homes and
yes,
create the environment and ecosystem by which
and
these kind of
I
things
did
can
such
happen, and we
camps.
have had very good response to it.
Yeah,
In fact,
I did such camps for different age groups. I would say I did student camp, I did grahasthas camp. I also attempted doing it for our Matajis, some
oh,
programs,
very
and all were definitely well received. And even today, there are requests coming in. Why don't you restart this? So effectively, the time spent by these children on unwarranted seeing films and whatnot that have been converted. And today, in my student inventory, I would say I have about 1,000 students who underwent our online programs, and they love these offerings of ours.
beautiful.
So
So you kind of answered the question that I brought it up here. Swami Pujaswami Satyapriyanji Maharaj had posed this. He said our limited youthful days cannot be shared between our limited youthful days cannot be shared between traditional systems of the ancients and our present method, right? Because there's like a intrinsic conflict there, I suppose. So he's asking how to bridge the gap in the internet age. And of course, you just now shared that you use the internet to be able to reach out to people located across the globe to be able to help nurture the Samskriti in their homes. Samskriti
absolutely,
included the Veda Abhyasa, the
yes,
Samskriti Abhyasa, etc. and you have
Absolutely.
different categories of people to whom you are catered to. And so you
Yes.
have a ready roster of 1,000 students or so. That's what you're kind of sharing. But then,
Yes.
in order to be able to make it happen, and this is the interesting thing, students find it very conflicting between the modern educational requirements or demands versus the demands of a traditional system. So how does one bridge the gap? Because there's so much of Vedic learning which is already in the YouTube, and there are people who sit and hear the YouTube videos of the Vedic chants, but then they have a very contradictory lifestyle. See, the influence that the Guru has on the Shishya, that doesn't come through the internet perhaps. And how does one handle it? Maybe I should also ask Puja Swamiji here, what is your take, Maharaj? Because blending the best of the West and the East is something Swami Vivekananda was always asking for. And here's the challenge that is there: how to bridge the gap in this internet age. Swamiji, your take.
I'll share two of my thoughts. We're talking about the Gurukula system where the disciple stays with the Guru, the student stays
Right,
with the teacher,
right.
and in the internet mode, the Guru is actually not present with the student. It's
Okay,
like, the sage from the stage. But what a real learning needs is a guide from the side. Knowledge does not flow straightwise. There are various layers of it. And the
okay,
guru has to be present there, has to know the student individually. And
right,
then slowly the student can learn. Then a real learning will happen. Listening to
okay,
a YouTube video or this is not sufficient. Anyone who has really taken up this pursuit of real learning knows that that can be the beginning, but that
right,
cannot be the end. And the
okay,
other thing, I'm remembering, how should we face this influence of internet pattern of learning? Actually, it's a bit of a new thing in us. I'm remembering one sister Nivedita, she asked Swamiji that what is your idea about all these reforms?
hmm,
And Swamiji's emphatic reply was that everyone is actually wanting to see the future of their dreams.
right,
But let the reform come from within. Let us not
right,
dictate whether it will be the Vedic or whether it will be the internet thing. Whatever we have found as something very valuable in our life, let us share it
right,
with one and all, and
yes,
then let people decide what they want. So I think what Kamakotiji is doing, and I'm so happy to listen to all these things. Let us
yes,
spread. Let us spread, and then this is our ancient tradition, such a strong tradition. There will be people who will pick it up, and we do not have to play that the ancient versus modern thing. Let's us let us educate people, and that is all we can do. And let the
right.
people choose.
So,
I
so
think
what
that
you're
is what
saying is that,
Swamiji's way of doing is.
right. So what you're saying is that allow people to pick up what they think and let them blend it up such that they can get the maximum
Yes,
benefit of it rather than
yes,
kind
yes,
of seeing it as one against the other. One can
yes. And
complement
I'll
the
just
other,
give
and
one
somewhere one has
example.
to synthesize that. Right.
Yes, and I'll give one
That's very
example.
interesting.
Presently our entertainment industry is not playing the part of education. But when we were children, I think you all will remember, when I was a children, there was the Ramayana serial in the Doordarshan,
Right.
and that showed the strength of a media. If
Yes.
media puts these ancient traditional ideas in a proper way, what a tremendous revolution it can bring in the culture of the country. The entire country would stop just to watch Ramayana, and many came to know the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Puranas in depth because the entertainment industry played a prominent role in education. Now they're not
Maharaj,
playing that
I
role.
just want to share one thought there. The tragedy
Please.
in India is that the entertainment industry, the media industry, is controlled by forces which are hostile to dharma. Okay, honestly,
Yes,
that's
yes,
what has
yes.
happened. And a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting phenomena happened during the Corona lockdown times. What happened was, luckily, we had a government and a set of people who were inspired by Ramayana, and they said that since people are all locked up in their homes because of the spread
Mm.
of Corona has to be curtailed, let's telecast Ramayana again. And very
Okay.
interestingly, the kind of viewership that came up was world beating. Nowhere in the
Oh,
world were people watching Ramayana. There are something like around 80 million people tuning in every day into watching Ramayana for about 30 days or something like that. The entire thing, it's like binge watching Ramayana. Within 30 days, they watched, I think, twice a day for 1.5 hours every day. And it was more than 80 million, 90 million. This is something which no other broadcaster had such a, what do you call, grip on the people. It's the other way around actually. People were really interested, but unfortunately in India we have a very sad state of affairs where the media and the NGOs think that Hinduism and Dharma etc. is very retrograde. They don't understand that that is the heartbeat of India. And like
yes,
Puja Swami Vivekananda said, what is it that India can bring to the world stage? It is Dharma, and that alone is going to make it the Vishwaguru. So I have one last question to ask, and this is something very interesting. And here is Atri Deshmukhiya who's asking this question, and this is a question. I think it's again the intrinsic possible contradiction that people have within the tradition versus the modern education system. So she's asking, it may be encouraging that people are showing interest in the Gurukul system, but the world would not be transformed overnight. So, will the students who are in the Gurukul face survival crisis more than the usual? That's the question that she wants to ask. And maybe Kamakoti ji can respond to that because you are graduating out students from your Gurukul. How successful are they in the world? What are they doing? How are they surviving? And are there better prospects for them than say the regular school where they couldn't have possibly come up in life the way they have come up. So that's a question to you, Kamakotiji.
So, great question and very pertinent in today's context. This question I was also trying to get an answer, but the practicalities proved me wrong. Um, I was thinking the more and more of students are thronging in to my institution and joining. What is there in them? Will they have future for them? Even to give living standards for them? Does this education help? Were the questions even I was asking to myself. But within my own limited experience, the world is very large to welcome them. And in fact, the kind of education that they have been inducted into, and today this can offer uh, lakhs of jobs to them. In lakhs, I
Okay.
would say. Yeah.
Oh, so
Just,
what you're
just
saying is there are two parts to it. One, what you're saying is that the transformation that they have achieved in their lives by studying in a
yes,
Gurukul
yes,
essentially enables them to take on modernity for what it is, master that,
absolutely.
and then to be able to survive and thrive in
Let
the
me
modern world. So that's
let
why
me
you're
tell
saying
you,
lakhs of jobs. That is
lakhs,
one. And
not
they're also getting lakhs as the
yes, they are
remuneration.
getting lakhs. You are right. They
Okay.
have likely chance of getting lakhs. And see, the Sanskrit does wonders to them. The
Right.
medium of education, the language that they are into, and world over they are welcomed. Okay,
Wow.
and yeah, and
So
and
what you're saying is that the formative years of the child should be
yes,
spent in a Veda Pathshala or a Gurukul system, so that when
they
they
must.
come to that mastering level, when they are youth, that is when they can get in the world and master the subjects like what Vivekananda was saying. Get the senses
Certainly,
under control, then you can master any subject that you want at any time that you
certainly,
want. And that's a
certainly.
very interesting, what you call, answer to Atri Deshmukhiya. And so I think it throws up a lot of very interesting possibilities of how Vivekananda vision gets translated out into the modern world through traditional means. And that kind of brings us to the possible end to this panel discussion that we had in a limited way just between the two of us, three of us. It's very unfortunate that we couldn't get Professor Alvar to join us, but then I think another time, another forum, all three of us or four of us should be there and we should definitely explore. Before I close, I would like to request you all to share your last thoughts on what you think should be done to ensure that people experience the Gurukulam retreats for immersive experiential learning, right? Our own citizens, our own devotees of Indic education, dharma, what should they do to be able to experience the Gurukulam retreats so that they really have immersive experiential learning? Puja Swamiji, your last words on this topic of
Uh,
the day.
I'd answer that from our part, it should be more of awareness.
Okay,
And for the people to know more about it, the immersive experiential learning, they have to come and experience. So
right.
don't keep yourself withheld. Come forward, try to know. This is a time tested tradition.
Beautiful.
So, and so many people have benefited. So come forward, have your own
Yeah.
experience, and then
So,
decide
so
for yourself.
wonderful. So, what you're saying is don't just be intellectually curious and just don't be intellectually curious to read up some things and say, oh, okay, now I know what it is. That doesn't work. One
Yes,
needs to
yes.
come forward, interact,
Be a part of it in your own
participate,
way.
yeah, interact and participate in your own way,
Yes,
meet human beings, and then experience what it means to be with them or interact with
yes,
them. And that is where the Guru
yes.
Shishya relationship actually works out. And that's something very, very interesting. So maybe I should ask Professor Sri Kamakoti ji. So, what's your take on this retreat part that people could do to come to your place, perhaps experience the Veda Pathshala by actually having this immersive experiential learning?
The application part of the learning gets exhibited much better in a Gurukul system than in our traditional system, I would say.
Okay,
And people, every one of us have to have gone through this, which we failed. But at least I will appeal to the younger generation. Please come forward. At least be in a Gurukul for a month in a year, and spare your time and learn the techniques, which will be a life learning for everyone. So I
beautiful.
would, with the folded hands, I will say that there is enough and more for every one of us to again be a part of a Gurukul, and the takeaways are definitely much more than what you have learned otherwise.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think that's a very interesting learning that is being presented here. And I think more importantly, this is the vision of Swami Vivekananda too, that we need to get this whole thing going in ways by which we can have people come and do what is needed to essentially imbibe the spirit of what Gurukuls are, what Veda Pathshalas are, but then do it such that you can really grow your inner self. And this is the best alternative way of studying and learning about life, getting the life skills. So, Pujya Swamiji, what I would like to do is to request you to have the Jaikara and Kamakoti ji, your face might be covered. Don't mistaken me. But then I just want to bring in the image of Sri Ramakrishna here. Pujya Swamiji, please, Jaikara.
जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय. जय महामाई की जय. जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम तत्सत. श्री राम कृष्णार्पणमस्तु.
Very nice, Swamiji. This is really nice. I think we had a very wonderful discussion, and I think Kamakoti ji is bringing to the table a lot of very interesting, useful insights. I just want to kind of share that please go visit his website, aturvedapatshala.com. Am I right, sir?
Yes,
And maybe at least for a couple of hours, you should visit his place near the town of the city of Kanchipuram. And that way you get to see not only as a Veda Pathshala, he's also running a Goshala. Cows are so important and so vital to the ecosystem of traditional learning because they bring in a certain flavor to what it means to care for nature. It's like, Vedantic ecological empathy. That is what Goshalas do to allow us to go there and to be associated with the Veda Pathshala as well. So that's a very interesting thing, and I'm sure Puja Swamiji has been nurturing the students in the training center, and there's a lot of these empathic vibes that are being generated. Puja Swamiji, thank you so much for joining us for this couple of hours. Thank you, Kamakotiji. So tomorrow we have a very interesting program lined up on exploring the teaching of Swami Vivekananda, learning Vivekananda through the route of Samadhana. And we have Pujya Swami Dayadipanandaji Maharaj, who's a doctor who's putting into practice the Karma Yoga part in the Ramakrishna Sevashrama in Khankal in Haridwar, how he has been handling diabetic children, and especially type 1 diabetic children, which is like children who are dependent on insulin on everyday basis, how he has helped them transform their lives through the vision of Swami Vivekananda. That is very interesting to hear. We have Professor Trilochan Shastri, who's going to be coming in from IM Bangalore, and he's going to talk about how the self-confidence of the youth in rural India and urban India can be boosted up because of Swamiji's ideas. And then, of course, finally, we have a very interesting case study of Ranjan Belarpadi from um, Mangaluru talking about Swachha Bharata, how the Ramakrishna Mission there rolled out Swachha Bharata in the city of Mangaluru, and one huge fan following because there are more than 10,000 volunteers for that. And then not only Swachha Bharata, it's also Swachha Manas. And that's very interesting. So tomorrow is a very interesting day. Please join us. Thank you so much. Jai Ramakrishna. Jai Swami.
Thank you.
Jai Maha.
Finally, a special thanks to Dr. Mohan. You did a wonderful moderation and lots of insights
Oh,
coming out from you
I
as well.
am just an instrument in the hands of Swamiji. All that I've
Thanks.
done
My
is
heartfelt thanks to you
yeah,
and
we
Kamakotiji and
put
Alwarji
together,
also.
and that is the samadhana that I'm doing, perhaps, or the service that I'm doing. I'm just a nimitta matra. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Namaste.
much, Swamiji. Thank you. Thank you.